right. Welcome to the How to Sell Insurance podcast. My name is Ryan Federico. As always, I am here with some of the baddest men on the planet. We've got Mr. Ashton Delango Lunday, Mr. Popular Pensacola producer, popping off plenty of mortgage protection deals. What's happening, man? How you doing, Ashton?
Dude, it's a good day. I mean, my wife made me this awesome looking cup of coffee.
Look
it's
at that.
fancier than usual. You know, it's a good
Hashtag
day.
married life. I love it.
It's nice.
I love it. I'm just sitting over here drinking out of my paper cup at the Embassy Suites. We're not sponsored by Embassy Suites, by the way. Maybe we could get sponsored by Embassy Suites. Whenever I'm on the road, I choose the comfort and professionalism of the Embassy Suites. We also have got Mr. DJ Debt Free Keith Fonseca, fresh off a $77,000 issue paid business month, like a beast. What's going
We're
on, Keith?
in the Flow, sponsored by Flow Alkaline Spring Water. Stay hydrated. On the way to 77K.
We're going to pick up all kinds of sponsors here. Before anybody asks, no, I am not sponsored by Mutual of Omaha, but as I have mentioned many times, if you are an insurance carrier and you send me gear, I will wear it. So just throwing that out there. Senior Adam Chate at Mutual of Omaha, shout out for the golf pullover. Love you, my man. We've also got a
Andrew
special guest
Costa
here.
is about to send you. Andrew Costa is about to send you some pink underwear from America. You got to wear that on the podcast.
I'll wear them here. He sent me a swim
we'll put
shirt,
it on
but
camera.
I wear it at the beach, so we're not doing a podcast at the beach. Can't wear it here. Golf pullover, you can wear anytime, Andrew. So you're going to see me on here like Dana Carvey from Wayne's World pretty soon with all the Reebok on, with everything. I'll have all kinds of insurance carrier logos. We also have Mr. Elijah Corujo coming out of Virginia. And he is here as a special guest. Elijah, why don't you introduce everybody? Introduce yourself to everybody. Tell them how long.
I like it.
Very nice. We got to get better at the queuing up the production value here, but we'll figure it out at some point. Tell them.
Wait, that wasn't a live audience?
How long you've been in the business, and sort of why you're here.
Dude, well, I'm here because I love the podcast, one. And two, you'd think that there'd be a lot more insurance content out there in the podcast world for the amount of podcasts we consume. And so I just wanted to participate in making some with you guys. In terms of being in the business, man, I got my license in May of 2018, thinking that I would use it for 4 or 5 months over the summer, and did insurance part-time while I was in college. Did really well and came on full-time after I graduated. And so all in all, I think I'm coming up on my 4-year anniversary with Symmetry Financial Group. Loving it.
So how old were you when you got started?
I just turned 21 when I got started, and I'm 25 now.
And then what's your biggest production month as a producer?
My biggest production month is $45,000 in submitted volume, and I issued about 38 of that in a month. I like talking about both submit and issue, and so in that 1 month, I deposited almost, I want to say it was like 28 grand in that month.
Awesome, man. Yeah, more clapping. So today,
those are Ruth Chris numbers.
We're going to talk about working older leads is what we're going to talk about today, aged leads. So a lot of agents getting started in this business. We know we got a lot of people that listen to the podcast that aren't using leads at all. They're just working family and friends and warm market and networking and stuff like that. If that's you and you've got your lead source all settled, not a problem. Maybe you're going to use a couple tips and tricks from this for how to follow up with some of those people that you talked to a couple years ago. But for most of the agents that are getting started in the industry that are working in a brokerage model or something like we all are, they're going to get started using leads. And for most new agents that come in, they don't have the upfront capital to be able to get themselves a bunch of brand new leads, and so they're going to end up working aged leads of some sort. Now, this may be intermediate aged leads where you're the second or third person to have them. But as I think we're going to get into discussing, I think there's a huge difference between, a Facebook generated, form that somebody filled out when they were drunk on Tuesday night and got 37 calls the next day, and you picking that lead up 6 months later, versus somebody who filled out a letter and mailed it in, or made a call in, or went online and filled out a form and requested things. But we're going to talk about how to approach age leads, maybe some of the differences in working age leads versus working new leads. And that was something that Elijah was super passionate about. I will throw it to Elijah first, just because you have somebody in your organization, DJ Robinson, who is famous for for taking like the oldest of the old mail-in mortgage protection leads and just absolutely crushing the phones on a weekly basis and writing $50,000-$60,000 a month. So what are some things that you've kind of gleaned from him in how to approach working older leads, and if you were to give kind of one piece of advice to new agents getting started on calling old leads, why don't you take it away and sort of lead with that?
Absolutely. I actually just got back from Hawaii on a carrier trip. So maybe American Amicable will sponsor a podcast because they throw a heck of a trip. But GJ was there. Highly doubt it, but we'll talk about him. But him and I were hanging out there, and he won a carrier trip all in his own pen. And so a lot of times you see big numbers of people submitting a massive amount of business, which is awesome. But at the end of the day, issued business is what matters, and an issued business is what sent us on that trip. And he does it all on the cheapest, oldest leads the company has. When I talk with them about it, the main thing that kind of stands out to me more than anything is the dude just simply works more than everybody else. And kind of what Ashton was hinting at earlier, mindset, in my opinion, has probably the largest impact on people getting results or not getting results, working older leads, because your posture is different. When your posture is different, your activity is different. When your activity is different, you're going to get a completely different result. And so if I had two agents, for example, and I handed them the same stack of leads, and I told one agent, these leads are trash, they're not going to work, but go ahead and call them. Garbage. And then I told the other agent, hey, these leads are amazing. You're going to probably book 4 or 5 appointments. Those 4 or 5 appointments are going to make you $3,000. Go get them. And I told them both to go call them. The agent who's expecting the leads to be trash and is not going to book anything probably won't book anything, because when they're on the phone, their activity's different, their posture's different. And what DJ does, truthfully, like if you want to know what it takes, he makes on average 800 to 1,000 dials every single week. He gets on the phone. He lives in California, on Manhattan Beach.
Shout out Manhattan Beach.
And he's a Wall Street guy. And so he came from Wall Street before this. He had a very high income to replace, but he was used to the phones. And I think as a new agent or somebody who needs to make it happen, if you just recognize that the phones are really the hardest part of what we do, if you can learn that and figure that out, you're going to make it just fine. But he makes about, he's on the phone from the time he starts work to the time he's done. And he is on the phone either booking appointments or running appointments. That's all he does, man.
Yeah, it's so key to recognize that when you're new, especially now, he's doing it. This agent that we're talking about is doing it because he's got a ton of phone experience, and he's like, I can talk to anybody. I'm super comfortable on the phone. But I actually want to bring in Keith, who, for those of the listeners of the podcast, know we affectionately call Mom every now and then as the master of mindset.
The master of mindset.
Because you need the right mindset to start working any leads when you're new, especially these older leads. And Elijah touched on that beautifully. I think that a lot of this, and Keith, I'm sure you've got your take on it, but I can imagine a lot of new agents that are getting started that are already lacking the belief in themselves anyway. And then, to get some rejection and pushback and, what they're going to go through when they're on the phones, at first, if they're not expecting that type of rejection or they're not expecting that type of difficulty, they'll be out of this business very quickly. So what's your take on sort of the mindset of new agents coming in working older leads?
First of all, I want to comment on a comment you made earlier. At 2 a.m., I was usually passed out when I used to get drunk. I wasn't drunk going looking for life insurance. Yeah, I really appreciate what Elijah shared. It's so true, but if I'm listening to this podcast and I want to think about this tactically rather than just simply mindset of staying positive, first, you said the word, Ryan, expectations, right? So having someone or real expectations of how often a contact should be booking in terms of someone who's an older lead. Let's dive a little bit deeper into that, and then I'll come to my tactical point. So if someone called me right now and said, hey, you filled out a card for an extended warranty on your car, and I'm like, I don't have that car anymore. Right? Immediately, I'm like, okay, you're not doing proper research. You don't have the right pitch. You're not approaching me in a manner that really speaks to me. You're just coming at me from what you need to do, and it doesn't resonate, right? So if I'm calling an older lead and I'm like, hey, you fill this out, you need mortgage protection, like 3 years have gone by. 2 years have gone by, and so the person could react very in a way of like, okay, I've got it taken care of. I don't know what you're talking about. So adjusting my expectation going into that conversation of knowing that that is to be the likely response. So tactically, I've got to come to them in a manner that sort of resonates before, they can do that internal narrative of you're calling to sell me something I don't need, I don't remember, or you're just bothering me. And approach them in a manner that says like, hey, I'm a caseworker over here, and I've got your name and info, and you probably did this a long time ago, and I'm so sorry to bother you, but it seems like we don't have any resolution, that you got some coverage in place. Is this still a concern for you? That God forbid you should pass away, that your family would afford to be able to stay in the home. Right? Now, notice I put that in a little bit of a longer format, in a little bit of a sing-songy, like, I'm confused, and they're hearing the confused tone, so now they're confused, and it's more of a please help me out with this than it is sort of the approach with the new lead, which is, hey, you filled this out last week, my job's to get this resolved, let's get together. Right? It's more of a, hey, Elijah, I see that you grabbed this sort of grapefruit, and it looks right, and it looks ripe, and I don't really understand how to pick grapefruits. You think you could help me out and just, help me learn how to pick the right grapefruit? Right? You see the smiles on the podcast right now. So if you call someone who's like an older lead, and it's like, hey, I've got this thing, and I just need 10 seconds of your time. Please forgive me. It looks like you filled this out a long time ago. I don't have any information since, right? So what I want to do is collect some of your info in case this is still a concern for you. And they'll let you know if it's not. But the assumption that it might still be a concern has to come from a place of, man, I'm confused, I'm sing-songy, I need your help, as opposed to, hey, do you need life insurance? And if you don't get it, oh my God, your family's in so much trouble. And that's what new people miss. Right, the difference of intentionality of I just need your help helping me versus I'm calling to help you because you just expressed a need last week. So that's tactically where I'd want to practice and, just fake it till you make it, right? You said, Ryan, people aren't expecting the rejection. Like, expect the rejection. Go for the rejection, because the people who don't reject, well, that's like big victory versus going for a win on every single call and getting the rejection. That's like getting punched in the stomach by Mike Tyson over and over and over and over. And then the one who would have said yes, I'm like, forget it.
Yeah, totally.
And Could I add something to that real quick?
Yeah, I think that what he's talking about is an investigative approach versus an assumptive approach. And a lot of times, if you're a new agent, for whatever organization that you're in, they're probably giving you a script that is an assumptive approach. Whether you're calling, family members, whether you're calling, people from a certain work organization, or, whether you're buying leads, that script is probably written in, if you get a new lead, here's what you say. And that's an assumptive approach. Hey, you've done something. I want to get you this. An investigative approach is, hey, do you still want insurance? Right? I don't have any record of you getting insurance, and so I'm following up to investigate if you need anything. It's a huge, shift in how you present yourself on the phone and certainly how you can book an appointment with somebody or get them engaged on the phone. But Elijah, you wanted to add something, and then I wanted to. There's something I wanted to ask Ashton about. Go ahead.
Oh, go for it. I was just going to say, one of the things, Keith, that I want to point out is, are you, and you can answer this question if you want, are you trying to sell the person the first time you talk to them on an older lead, or are you trying to gauge interest and kind of determine where they're at in their buying journey?
In the systematic approach we use, no matter what lead I'm calling, it's always on the first to get the correct information because I'm going to work for them. So no, I'm not trying to sell anything no matter who I'm calling.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, and look, some organizations do things differently, and we certainly understand that there are certain. Look, if you've come from an industry like car sales, for example, you might be more, high pressure, high numbers type of activity where you're just like, you're calling through a stack of 200 leads going, do you want insurance? Do you want insurance? Do you want insurance? Do you want insurance? Until somebody's like, yeah, I actually do kind of want insurance. And what Keith is talking about is a little bit more like, well, let me understand why you did this form, and if that was resolved, let me understand why you wanted to buy a car, and if you got a car that was the right fit for your family, or if you went shopping and maybe you didn't find something that you liked, and now I may be able to help you. It's just a little bit of a different mentality to start, and that's actually like from a technical aspect what I wanted to ask Ashton, because Ashton, you worked a ton of bonus leads. Certainly I did too, but I know that you took a little bit of a different approach. Like when you start calling a bonus lead, it's a little bit older, or you might not know, its age to some degree. You don't quite approach it like you do an A lead. So what are some of the things that you're saying right at the beginning of a call that's maybe a little bit different than how you would start a brand new conversation with somebody who just filled out a form, or a brand new lead that you just got?
Yeah, for me, I typically really do start it the same way. I just go in, hey, I'm getting back to you about the request that you made. And they don't say anything, then great, I'm going through booking that appointment. But if they go, what are you talking about? When was this? What was that? I go back to how the lead was originated. Yeah, so what happened is you got a letter in the mail that said, Dear John and Jane Doe, in the event of a death, a disability, or critical illness, would you like information on how that mortgage could be paid off? If yes, fill this out, send it back, call in, go online. It looks like you guys filled it out, mailed it back. It came across my desk, and it's just my job to get you the information you requested. They don't tell me when you do it. You could have done it yesterday,
so real quick,
or 3 years ago.
So I can get some clarity on that from you. But that is jogging somebody's memory, right?
Yeah.
And that's a huge part of working aged leads is jogging somebody's memory and really being descriptive, not just like, hey, you filled this form out, I'm getting back to you. Like, no, here's what happened. You closed on this loan. You probably got about 30 of these letters. You read one. You filled it out. You mailed it back in, or you called the phone number. You entered this stuff in. And it looks like we assigned you somebody, and they don't tell me when, but I just see that you're unresolved, and I'm here to help you guys get this resolved. You're weaving a story of what happened to jog their memory. Otherwise, they'll just be like, oh, yeah, whatever, bye, click. And that's so huge, man. So that's an amazing tactic. I hope everybody can rewind and write down what you just said.
Yeah, and when they have that question, that's when I go into that. If they don't have that question, then I'm just going like normal. I was working some 3-month to 1.5-year old leads this week and last week. And I just started like normal. Hey, I'm just getting back to you about the request. Half of those people were just like, oh, okay, and looked it like normal. And when I got it, it was 3 or 4 months old, and I got it 3 or 4 months ago. So now it's basically a year old. I'm like, oh, okay. And so I just go through it like normal. But then if they go, wait, what are you talking about? When did this happen? Oh, man, that was forever ago. Oh, yeah, just came across my desk. It's my job to reach out to you, get you the information you requested. Sometimes you filled it out yesterday. Other times, it's been 2 or 3 years. They don't tell me when you do it. It's just my job to get you the information. I have your age is this, and I'm going back into my script, whatever your script is. I'm getting right back to my script.
Yeah, totally. Elijah, I want to throw it to you about like specific things that you would say. Now we're talking about the real tactical verbiage that you use. Are you calling many aged leads, bonus leads, or are you primarily just calling the brand new ones?
So if I'm being completely honest, I'm only calling older leads right now. I'm only working
Nice.
aged
Wow.
leads.
Heck yeah.
B1s are my favorite right now. Not necessarily by choice. I haven't been able to get any brand new leads. And honestly, it's not really affected my business in a negative way at all. I kind of approach things as normal. And when I'm calling, in terms of specific verbiage, I do it very similar to you, Ashton, where when I call them, I'm gauging interest after I introduce myself. So I don't just jump right into the script and say, hey, you sent in this form, da 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 da. I'm kind of like, hey, this is Elijah Corujo. I'm calling about your home over there on 123 Anywhere Street. It looked like you got a postcard about mortgage protection. You filled it out and sent it back. Do you remember doing that? Most of the time they don't. And so the ones that do, it's just a nice, easy flow. Oh, that's exactly why I'm calling. But the ones that don't, I try to paint a picture for them because I know that they did. There's no question if they filled it out. I'm looking at his handwriting on the form. But I tell them, just like you said, Ryan, hey, you would have gotten this when you first moved in or refinanced. It talked about paying off your mortgage if you become disabled or critically ill, that sort of thing, if you pass away. Has anybody gotten back to you? And so I asked that question because I already know the answer. I know nobody's not gotten back to him, which is why I still have his form. And very rarely do they say, yeah, I already got it taken care of. That's a different script that we could talk about later. But when I jog their memory, almost every single time, I'm able to help them remember filling it out. If they don't remember, I don't really make a big deal out of it. When I was brand new, that was probably one of the biggest, most frequent mistakes that I would make is I would think that if they didn't remember doing it, there's no way I could book an appointment with somebody. And so I just started being really nonchalant about it. And so the joke that I use, if people don't remember filling it out, which when you're calling age leads, it's about half of them don't remember doing it. I always say, hey, you don't remember filling it out? No worries. I don't remember what I ate for lunch yesterday, let alone what I sent in the mail a year ago. But we got it back here. It's got your handwriting on it, and you gave me your birthday here as August 1st of 87. Is that right? Yes. The more yeses you can get and get the client in agreement with what you're saying, it's just going to be a nice, easy, smooth transition through the phone script. And before you know it, you took somebody who had no idea who you were or what you were calling about. You've clarified that they don't know what you're calling about. They don't remember filling it out, but you're still able to book a solid appointment with them because you gauged interest, you verified info, so you built credibility, and then you kind of clarified the need a little bit so they know what they're meeting with you about. And when I'm calling age leads, one of the really big tips too is I stick to a script every single time I'm having the same conversation over and over and over again, no matter what people are saying.
Man, 100%. I love having the repetition and the repetition and the repetition just to really build that groove and to get into play with it. I'm telegraphing a little bit to Keith next. I want to sort of jump on a tactical thing myself, but where I want to move into with you guys, and Keith, you'd kind of be the first one to talk about it, is when we're dealing with aged leads or bonus leads of some sort. I like to think of the clients as being slippery. They've slipped past a couple other agents. And so it's also locking them down and preparing them to actually show up while you're on the phone with them because they've already not shown up for 2 or 3 appointments with somebody, or they met with somebody and they didn't get insurance. But so I'm coming to you with that here in just a second, Keith. But I guess how I break it down, because I love what you guys are saying, Ashton and Elijah. For me, if it's under 90 days, if I have that lead and it's under 90 days, and it doesn't matter if I'm the second, third, or fourth person to have it, I don't care. But if it's under 90 days since they made the request, I'm just going to go for it exactly the way that I would normally go for a brand new lead, like it's not a big deal, and just like I'm the person that got assigned to their case. Yeah, I get some blowback from people going like, that was 3 months ago. It took you so long to get back to us. And I can weave that into, I know, God, we're so swamped and we have so many people like you that are requesting insurance. I got a very limited amount of time. I can start building value, right? But between 3 months, so 90 days, and like a year, I'm really going to want to jog their memory about what they did. And I'm going to do it exactly like Ashton just said, is in that time frame, I'm going to say, hey, well, back when you guys closed on the loan at 123 Main Street, looks like we sent you out this letter, and you guys read this letter, and either you called in or you filled it out or you made a request online. I see here in our system we assigned you a couple agents because I know I'm not the first person to have that lead, so I know somebody else has had it. But I don't have any info in my system here about if you guys got coverage or not, which is also true. I don't know if they got coverage because I just got their lead. So I'm just kind of the guy who's updating the system here. Did you guys ever get that coverage that you had requested? And I start the conversation there. If it's over a year, and this is where I think a lot of people get into trouble, a lot of new agents get into trouble. If it's over a year, the number one response that you're going to get from people is, I don't remember doing that. Right? It's the easily the number one response that you're going to get from people. And so, again, the best way to deal with an objection, right, is to deal with it before it happens. So when I call a lead that's over a year old, and I do this a lot with agents on my team that are calling those older leads, and they're like, these leads suck. And I'm like, cool, send them to me. I'll set appointments on them. You know what I mean? So when they send me those leads and I'm calling these older leads, I started out by going, hey, Elijah, you probably don't remember doing this. That's my first sentence. Hey, Elijah, you probably don't remember doing this, but back when you closed on the loan at 123 Main Street, looks like that loan was with Wells Fargo for $180,000. We had sent you out a letter, and that letter was about mortgage protection options. That letter was about life insurance. Or you went online and you made a life insurance quote, whatever. But, hey, you probably don't remember doing this, so I take that off the table, right? And if it's an older lead, a lot of times I'll say, hey, you probably already got some coverage put in place, but a lot has changed in the industry. With technology, prices have gotten a lot better, and so it's my job, just to get you some updated quotes. I want to give them a reason.
Getting ahead of the curve.
With technology, pricing has gotten better, which is very true. Pricing has gotten better in the last 2 years on insurance products because of technology. You can get more simplified issue for close to fully underwritten type of prices now. A lot of coverage has gotten cheaper with the advent and introduction of technology. So that's sort of what I'm diving into with them and just saying, hey, I'm here to get you new options or whatever, and I'm just the follow-up person. So I just want to confirm what I have here. Now, it says here that you're 37 years old. Have you had a birthday since you filled this form out? Those are my delineations of 90 days, 6 months, and a year, or a year or more, I guess. So what I'd want to go to though is now we've gotten them on the phone. They're game, right? Now, Keith, they've agreed to meet with us, or we're at least getting that traction from them. And man, this person has slipped through the fingers of several other agents, and I don't want to be, in the same result. So what are some of the things that you're doing maybe with bonus leads that you aren't doing with, maybe brand new leads to make sure that you do get to meet with them and they do view it as important and you can help them?
Well, I'm definitely asking questions that relate to that posture. Right? How important is this to you? Is it something that you've been thinking about for a while? Do you want to get this taken care of? Certainly giving them expectations of what's going to happen in the appointment. And I try to practice that with everyone, but especially with, older leads and older folks too, right? Both of them. Giving them straight up expectations of here's how our appointment is going to go, so they understand. Maybe if they were slippery and they had some poor experiences with other folks, that they understand what is about to happen. At least for me, I'm always saying something like, here's how the appointment's going to go. My job is not to sell you insurance. I want them to know that, because too many people think we're setting up these appointments to sell insurance. My job as a field underwriter, and of course that's a fancy name we use in our group, but it certainly translates to people's ears, field underwriter, caseworker. When I say insurance agent or insurance broker, immediately that elicits the word sales. So I like to use field underwriter. My job as a field underwriter is to review your medicals, do a quick financial overview, and then present you options, sort of tiers, that you can choose what makes you most comfortable, and then I'll help you fill out the application so we can get some coverage in place. Because it seems like this has been lingering for quite some time, and I bet you want to get some coverage in place at a price you can afford. Does that make sense? At a premium you can afford. Now, one thing I want to comment on just before we move on is that I noticed, first of all, let's not be confused, right? Ashton and I, maybe a little Elijah, we definitely learned from Ryan, right? So when Ryan's point guarding us and we're giving tactical information, right, a lot of what we learned came from Ryan. So when he's giving tactical information, I'm sitting back in my chair going like, oh yeah, I remember him teaching me this, I remember him teaching me that. But why did I bring this up, right? Because all three of you did sort of your posture during the leads. And what I want to, mention to the new agent especially, because a lot of new agents tune into this and they expect they're going to book appointments with older leads. And that expectation has to be measured by one thing you just saw and heard from all four of us, a posture of relaxation and confidence. Yeah. And a sort of reaction. When they say something, we know what to say back, right? That's where a lot of people, that line between 4 seasoned veterans who can book older leads versus someone's new, when they say, I don't remember doing that, if I'm new and I haven't practiced what to say after they say, I don't remember doing that, or I get nervous and my tone changes, that will completely turn them off. So when we were listening to Ashton and you were responding, Ashton, to what people were saying, it's like you've been hit in the knee by a doctor, right? You know the reflex. But how does one get that reflex? I think the process, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, we said learn it, repeat it, master it, own it. And you're looking at 4 people who own it, right? And at least for me, it took me like a good 9 months to own it because I didn't understand what we're actually doing, right? We're calling, we're jogging their memory, we're making sure that this is a priority to them, we're recognizing that they've been slippery, and we've done this, hundreds, if not thousands of times. If I've done this 15 times and I don't book that appointment, I should just be proud that I'm doing it at all. Rather than, and that's why Ryan can book those leads that people are saying, oh, these suck. It isn't that the leads suck. It's that I have to practice over and over and over and over so I start to sound like I've been doing this for years. Yeah. And that's the most important thing.
It's so huge, what you're saying, and you're right. I think that for the new agents that are listening to this, the game changes when you are not worried about what they're going to say next. That's when the game changes. And what helped me with that was really just kind of going, okay, well, what's the most common stuff that they say? And I was like, okay, 90% of the time they're going to say, I'm not interested, I've got coverage, I saw prices and it was too expensive, call me back later, or something, I don't remember doing that, right? So it's like, I only really need to know 5 things. Like very, very small percentage, I'm going to get somebody who's like, oh, we don't have that house anymore, or oh, it was a mistake, or oh, whatever. But for the most part, I'm going to get those 5. And if I can just get really, really good at those 5 and knowing that like that's probably what's going to come, I no longer really have to worry about what they're going to say next. And this is like that tense environment that so many new agents are in, and they're just like, oh my God, I hope they don't tell me, something weird next because I don't know what to say. And you can just have that relaxation and just kind of come to it with a pre-planned, calm response of a rebuttal to their objection. Ashton, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, the way you approach it is always going to be everything. Going in, like we've said, I mean, there's 2 things that I think that really just determine the success when you're dialing leads. First and foremost is going to be mindset. How are you going into this? No matter what you're thinking about the lead itself, just like what's your mindset of dialing? Everyone in the industry knows the newer the lead, obviously it's going to be a lot easier to dial. I don't think there's anyone that thinks opposite. Like we talked about, when you dial older leads, it's going to be more dials to get the same amount of appointments. But if your mindset going into that is horrible, you're going to get a horrible result. I've given aged leads to multiple agents, and at the end of the day, it's like, do you want to hang out with Eeyore or do you want to hang out with Tigger? If you're on the phone, you're going, oh, all right, man,
Tigger.
That's awesome.
Calling about your mortgage. Just go ahead and hang up on me so I can get the next one. You're gonna get that result, because I've had agents like that. They go, man, the leads suck. I'm gonna call them, and no one's gonna like me. Everyone's gonna hate me. I'm gonna go eat some dirt. I've had agents like that. But then I've had that same batch of leads, and I go give it to agents that go, man, I'm just excited to be able to help families. I know that in this pile of leads, we have X amount of people that are going to need help. 70 people might tell me no, but 10 will tell me yes. That's great. Let me find the people that need my help. And those people always beat their ratios on our leads. Last week, supposed to have a 1 in 7. Dialing leads, and in 1 hour, she talked to 11 people and booked 4 appointments. She was 1 in 2.75. And it's supposed to be 1 in 7 off of our leads. And it's because she had an extremely positive attitude. And she's been in the industry for a while now. But she's just like, I'm excited to help people. Like, it's been a while since I've done this. I got burnt out, came back, but she was excited about getting to go help some families. And that's why she had a good result.
love that. I love that, Ashton, and hashtag, Team Tigger, I guess, because
Ashton's hanging out with Disney characters.
Dude, it's so classic. Would you rather hang out with Eeyore or Tigger? But it's so true. Like, we don't know with aged leads, and this is like the piece of advice I would give to new agents, is like, you don't know what happened. There's no telling. They could have, like, the first person who got their lead could have been calling them when they were at work and never got in touch with them, or they booked an appointment and for whatever reason they weren't able to make it, and that first agent never followed up and rebooked them, and the second agent that had it was just an ass, and was like, car salesman, just, do you want insurance, yes or no? I don't have time to waste with you, and like they didn't vibe with them. And the
we
third
know
person
some of
that
those
they met
people.
with, we know plenty of those people, but the third person maybe they just didn't vibe with, and they like met with them and they just didn't really trust them, and you're the person that they just they connect with. They're like, yeah, I trust this person and I want them to do my insurance. I can't tell you what I have new agents that start, and Ashton, I think you just said this. I have new agents that start that they're just kind of getting going, they're getting their feet underneath them, and I just grab some old leads out of my CRM, and I just go, hey, dial some of these, and get your feet underneath you. And what ends up happening is they always book appointments, and most of the time those are people that told me to go F off or jump off a bridge or something like that. You know what I mean?
No one has ever told me that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Likewise.
Sure.
No one has ever told me to go jump off a bridge either.
Because it's, I recently had a new agent. Her name's Cammie. She's in Salt Lake City. She was calling leads of another agent, her kind of upline. And the same thing happened, is that person actually told her on the phone, yeah, I didn't like that guy. And, I like you. And she wrote the application for him.
There you go.
So you never really know what's going to happen. Maybe somebody had a kid. Maybe they, lost a job. Maybe they sold a house. Maybe somebody that they love in their life died unexpectedly, and they have new motivation for insurance, whether it's a year, 2 years, 3 years old. That's why somebody like DJ Robinson can just dial 3-4-year-old leads all day long and write $40,000, $50,000 in a month, is because he's approaching it with that mentality of, maybe I'm the fit for that person. And somewhere in this stack of leads, there's going to be somebody who needs insurance. It's just my job to turn over enough rocks that I find the gold underneath the rocks. And man, it's so powerful. I think we lost.
Some people
Elijah,
don't need 50,000 a month. Oh, sorry. I was going to say, some people don't need that 50,000. They just need the 10, but they give up too early.
Totally.
Yep.
I was just I think we lost Elijah. Maybe the internet went down in Newport News, Virginia. So everybody pray.
Am I back now?
Newport News.
Yeah, he's here.
Elijah's here.
I don't see him on my screen for some reason.
I'm also
I don't
not
hear
in
him either
Newport
talking,
News.
So maybe you guys got him frozen. Elijah, you out there?
I'm
he's here,
bro.
I don't think
I am out
I don't
here.
think he's there. I think you guys are lying to me. It's like a ghost.
Dude, I think it's
What
your
do you
internet.
got to say, Elijah, to close it up, since it was your
Am I?
your thought?
I can land this plane as long as I'm not muted. Am I still muted?
You're good.
No, you're good.
All right, sweet. I didn't think so. Ryan's Embassy Suites Wi-Fi is going out. We might need to
Get him a
send
better
help,
hotel.
but get him a better hotel.
Hey, don't ruin our
closing
sponsorship
thought-
from Embassy Suites.
if Embassy wants to sponsor some hotel stays for some insurance travel, that'd be awesome. But one of the things that I always try to remind myself of, because whenever you're dialing, it can be difficult too to go from getting really comfortable with brand new leads and then going back to aged ones. Or a lot of times you'll approach brand new leads with the same mindset that you do older leads. And like, I've had agents who work brand new leads who they should be booking one out of every two, but they've got that kind of Eeyore mentality where they spent $36 on a lead and got one person to tell them no, and that is the sole event that kind of set them off and thought that those leads don't work. But then if I were to give those same leads to anybody else, they're not going to get that same result. So posture's huge. But the point I'm trying to make, man, is professionals sort. Amateurs try to sell. If you go into it thinking that you're going to book every single person, then you're going to be really let down as soon as you have that first kind of bout of objection or rejection, really. But if you recognize that your job is just to sort through these leads, you got 100 leads, you're not going to book 100 appointments. That's okay. Your job is to get through that stack as fast as possible and sort through the people who remember it, need it, want the coverage from the people who don't and aren't interested. And if you can get really good at sorting, it doesn't matter how old the lead is. It doesn't matter how cheap it is. It doesn't matter how many agents called through it beforehand. You're still going to get results, man. And so that's kind of the long and short of how I approach dialing older leads. And a lot of agents struggle on them because they're trying to sell every single one. They're approaching it from a place of, I would say, more of an amateur than a professional who's really just trying to sort through them.
Yeah, and that's good right there. Absolutely. It was great having you on the podcast. And what I want you guys to do is when we post this either in YouTube on the comments, or we're gonna have a poll on Spotify there, I want you to put, are you Eeyore or are you Tigger? How have you been when dialing your lead? You guys are hating on my analogy, but I promise you,
I love it.
You guys are always going to be using this now. So
I love it.
Let
Let's
us
do the
know.
survey. Team Tigger all the way. Definitely everybody like and subscribe. Go to writemoreapps.com and you can check out all of our content for free. We love helping new agents make it in this business and experienced agents make more money. So writemoreapps.com. Elijah, big shout out. Love you, brother. And we will come back
Thanks
to
for
you
having
with
me,
fresh new
guys.
content next week. Later,
Yo,
everybody.
I'm Mickey Mouse. I'm Mickey Mouse.